Okay, so those of you that have been on the channel recently, you'll see that me and my group managed to take down Boomer, the first boss in the raid, in 4 minutes. And a few people have asked to see the build, and obviously I said in a previous video that I'll be showing my LMG build that I make. I run the raid with this insane LMG build, but you have to bear in mind, this can still be further optimised. I've just recently found out that the weapon damage I thought was roughly the max on chests can be found a lot higher than what I originally thought. I don't play ODZ, so the Occupied Dark Zone, but apparently the drop rates are better for like god roll stats and things in there. Obviously it still will grind, but apparently that is where you can get the best gear. Like, everyone knows the Dark Zone is for the best gear in Division 1, and it works the same in Div 2. There is a full in-depth guide on how to take down Boomer, like all the tips and the strategies we went through and everything on the channel. And as I said, with the skill build, I'm still further optimising it, but that will be released as soon as I feel comfortable with that build. And without further ado, let's get into the LMG build. Same as always, we will do the talents and stuff on the gear, we'll go through the stats, we'll do the shooting range to see the DPS, and then we'll go take down the named boss south of the White House. Starting off, it's an 872, 8 red, 7 blue, 2 yellow, 238,000 armour, 121,000 health, so it's like a mix, it's not just min-maxed / like glass cannon, it's not fully optimised just for damage, there's a lot of survivability in there too. You could go demolitionist for the extra 15%, but the specialisation I've gone with is sharpshooter, just because it's an LMG, it's going to recoil a hell of a lot, so you get the weapon handling, the reload speed, because it's a big magazine that takes longer to reload. And just in general, sharpshooter is always known to be a little bit better in terms of DPS when you have it on a build. So, our LMG is the M249B. I've tried the M60, but this for me is better. 29.3k base damage, I've heard people getting up to like 35,000, but you'll see stability is max. That is what you want on an LMG because it's going to reduce the recoil. We have a 3.7 second reload time, the critical strike range and stuff doesn't matter. I'm running unhinged, I get 20% weapon damage at the cost of 25% weapon handling. That's also where sharpshooter comes in, to balance out the loss of weapon handling from unhinged, but we get a 20% weapon damage boost. We then have 15% stability, and while equipped this weapon grants 10% bonus armor while deploying a skill. And the secondary I'm running is the Nemesis. If we have a look at the talent, while holstered, gain 25% headshot damage when scoped with your current weapon. So if we go back to the M249B, I'm running the 4x ACOG scope because there's specific scopes that actually use the holstered talent from the Nemesis. If I was to run a hollow sight, I wouldn't get a 25% headshot damage boost. So that's why I've got the 4x. There's a couple more. I think it has to be like a proper scope, because if it says hollow sight, that says sight. ACOG, that says scope. I'm not 100% sure on their mechanics, but the ACOG scope definitely works. It gives you that extra headshot damage from the Nemesis. I then have the tactical small pouch for 20% reload speed. I don't have the large pouch, so I can't get myself an extra 35 rounds. I've got the laser pointer for crit hit chance and the suppressor for the extra stability over the optimal range. So this is going to be used at fairly close range. Long range LMGs just suck. The pistol doesn't matter too much, but I'll show you anyway. It's the PX4 Storm Type T that I always use. Optimist doesn't come into play, but I have stop, drop and roll. So, into the mask, we have Douglas and Hardin for 5% accuracy. What you'll want to do is go for damage to elites on your mask if you're running the raid. Like, this is basically a raid build. It's still amazing for PvE, like standard, the base game sort of content. So make sure you go for damage to elites on this, because the mask is, I'm pretty sure it's the only piece of gear you can roll damage to elites as an attribute. And unfortunately, mine's only 29%. I've been grinding for gear over the last few days trying to get higher. I've actually got higher, like 36 and 37%, but I can't re-roll it because I've had to put hard hitting onto this mask. No mods on this one, except for a die slot. There's none that actually affects anything. Then we have the bag. It's a 511 tactical, so we get a bit of protection from elites. 2.5% crit hit chance and damage, 8% weapon damage. That could be boosted a tiny bit, but obviously I can't because I've put hardened on this. We have hardened for 10% extra armor, and we've got hard hitting for the damage to elites. Then in our mod slot, we've got skill power, increased kill XP and XP weak point kills. Over to the chest, we have 10% weapon damage because that's the highest I had at the time. This bag actually rolled with 4.5%, so I needed to recal it, and 10% was the highest I had. But it's got 368 skill power, 4.5% crit hit damage, 17.7k health, and the 10% weapon damage. Plus it's Petrov defense group, so I get the 10% LMG damage. Then I've got hardened on it. You could roll with hard hitting for the extra damage to elites, but I don't think it matters too much. Obviously, I can't recal this piece, but I think armor is just as important because survivability is going to be needed in the raid. It's not all about DPS, like there is a mass amount of DPS that you need to have within your team, but you also need survivability. Defensive mod slot, we have 4,000 armor, 3% total armor, and a little bit of armor on kill. And if we quickly take a look in my stash, I'll show you. I thought it was like a max of, I think, 13% on the chest. I don't know where I got this from. I need to actually find it. There it is. 15% weapon damage as a stat on this piece of gear. I don't know the highest percentage you can get. Someone in my group's got 16% on one of theirs. But I literally thought 13% was the highest. I haven't run the Occupied Dark Zone, and I didn't even know I had this piece on me. Like, 15% weapon damage isn't something that I would miss, so I don't know where this chest piece has come from, but I'm so glad I've got it because that weapon damage is incredible. So if you guys do know the max it can roll, then let me know in the comments. And moving on to the gloves, we have the first of 2 pieces of Airoldi holding, 4 accuracy and headshot damage. Then my attribute on this is 12% LMG damage. I have kneecap. I would like to re-roll a different talent because I don't aim to shoot someone in the legs. But if I'm recoiling all over the place, can't control it, like busy focusing on something else at the same time as shooting, then that's going to come in and apply bleed. Obviously I would like to re-roll it something different. But no mods on the gloves. And into the holster, the second piece for the headshot damage, 41,700 health. That can roll for like, I think a little bit upwards of 50,000, but that's the highest I've ever found on a holster. And the mod is 2% weapon damage, 2% AR damage, and then 4% LMG. So that mod alone gives me an extra 6% LMG damage. And then the knee pads, we have Geiler Guard, so it's 5% total armor, 18.2k health. And I love patience, my favourite talent in this game by a long shot. You need to have 6 or more blue, so luckily enough we have 7. Because of the defensive mods on this, that gives us an extra 2. We have 6,400 health, 3% extra incoming healing, just under 600 armor per second regen. Then we have 4,300 armor and 2.5% total armor. Then the skills I've been running are the Revive Hive and the Healing Chem Launcher, because heals are so important to keep your team up and add to the survivability for the raid. And I switch between frags like standard frags and flashbangs in the raid when I'm running low on one grenade type. So going into the stats, there's only 2 active talents on the gear altogether. The only one I need to focus on is patience. Kneecap is just an extra, and luckily enough I don't have enough utility to deactivate the kneecap talent. So, into the weapon damage, 29,266. We have a 7.5% crit hit chance, 32% crit hit damage, bang on 100% headshot damage, 50% reload speed bonus, and we have a little bit of accuracy, but we have 65% stability. Accuracy is going to stop the bullet spread, stability is going to control your recoil better, and LMGs, obviously, they're very powerful guns, they're going to recoil a lot, so I prefer going for stability over accuracy, but obviously if you can get both fairly high, then do so. We lose the 25% weapon handling from the unhinged talent, but then we balance it with sharpshooter. And you can see here, like, this is mental. 40% all weapons damage bonus, 26% LMG damage bonus, so that's a 66% damage bonus to this gun. So it's not even a good roll. You can get a much better damage roll than I've got. With demolitionist, that would go up to 41% on the LMG damage, so I'd have 81%. But I tested it out yesterday, and running sharpshooter over demolitionist, losing the 15% damage actually increases my DPS. So always use the shooting range, test your guns and stuff. Only 49% damage to elites, and even though in the raid the majority of the enemies are elites, it doesn't matter too much as long as you have around 50%. Obviously the more you can get the better. Then we've got all the defense stats, like hardly any armor regen at all. 60,000 health regen, so the health does come back fairly quick. Skill power and stuff doesn't matter on this build, it's not a skill build at all. But that's the build covered, so now let's go to the shooting range and I'll show you the DPS. I'm going to shoot the front target only because, like, I will show you stats further back, but this is a close range weapon, you can't use it too far away. Like, name difficulty, if we start shooting at this guy at the back, you can see it doesn't recoil too much, it's very easy to handle. I can't really aim, I can go for headshots. If we reset this, 663,000 DPS. Go for headshots, it's a lot harder to control. We only got 362,000, but you can see the damage to the head is 112,000. So if we go for this target with the headshots, 981,000. If we can get ourselves to the front target, you can see there on the second target we got 1.1 million. Okay, it's finally given us the front target. So this is going to be the easiest to handle because it's closer. So if we run this, you can see 1 million. I want to get that target to come back though because I wasn't 100% accurate with my shots. Luckily enough, it's come straight back. If I land all headshots, you can see 1.2. But I have seen a max of 1.4 million DPS on this build. It's just about the accuracy, like the bullet spread and everything like that comes into effect. So it's not crazy high DPS. The damage per shot is very good for an LMG. You can see from that target it's like 1.24. I have seen 1.4 million. So we'll say it's an average, because we get like 700,000 to 800,000 on the low end. We get like 1.2 million on the high end. So it's an average of like 1 million DPS. So now if we go south of the White House, we'll take down the named boss. Okay, so the boss is just ahead of us. If we take cover here, and we start absolutely tearing these enemies apart. I didn't want to actually hit the boss straight away. So you'll see here with this purple bar, when he actually shows me his head, I need to wait for him to pop up, he's suppressed. You'll see that it's harder to control the recoil the further away you are. So they're still easy to kill, but when they're behind cover and stuff and they're popping up and doing all this different stuff. But if we can, I want to kill this guy. Okay, look at the boss. Look at how quick I shred him. We're getting 112,000 damage per headshot. I'm just going to deconstruct that. I've seen, whilst I'm running the raid, I don't know why it's any different, but I've seen headshots of like 127,000. So I don't fully understand every single mechanic behind it, but you get a rough sort of idea. And obviously, whilst I was running the raid, it wasn't just me, there's 7 other players in the group. But this is my build, and this was more than enough to get through the first boss. We've done the second boss, and we're just like trying to perfect the mechanics on the third one now. Then eventually we get through to the final, we'll complete the raid. But this was my LMG build, this is what I run for the raid. It's so accurate, it's powerful. Like obviously further distances is going to be harder to control. I'm not the best of players anyway, so if you've got a higher skill level than me, chances are you probably have. Then this will perform even better for you than it does for me. But I love this LMG build. I'm probably not going to change it. If anything, I'll just carry on optimizing it, make it even better, carry on with improvements. And as I said, this skill build will be coming as soon as I feel comfortable with that one. But that's going to do it for now. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.